After an insane amount of awards and positive reception, the wait is finally over. The marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 2 is back, and we're talking episode 1, so don't go away.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
La lune trop blême.
The setting is Paris.
Paris.
We are sitting at a cafe eating a baguette.
And we are discussing love. No, we're discussing Simone, episode 1, you guys. I'm so excited. The season is finally back. We have so much to break down before we get into it. I'm Steph Sabraw, and I'm joined by the most marvelous panel on earth, Amy,
Maestri. It's close. You're going the Italian way. I like it. We're getting cultured in this episode. Super excited to be here, guys.
the one and only Briana Phipps,
Hey, everybody.
and Jeff Graham.
Am I allowed to talk?
Yes, we have one male, so you guys know we're leaning away from the male toxicity.
I'll just do this from time to time.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't think anyone's ever described me as a toxic alpha.
No, Jeff is
I'm not sure
literally
that's
the best.
Luckily, I love witty repartee and Amy Sherman Palladino, so I don't think most dude fans of this show are going to be the type that would do something shady to you at a club or
Jeff
something.
is cultured, and we love and accept him.
It's very nice.
I
She's
love
being
that
generous.
it's do something shady at a club.
You know.
I was telling Bri I'm
so
really
specific.
excited for this panel because Jeff is our producer, kind of writing genius, so to speak.
Very generous.
Bri is the theater freak and beauty and into musicals. And then Amy, our very own comedian.
Woo! Stand up.
And then me, I'm kind of just claiming the aesthetic. I'm going to talk about the fashion and just my love of the show. So we're going to break down kind of where we left off last season. Joel and Midge, their relationship. Susie, where she's at. And, of course, Rose and Abe, because we know things are going a little bit of astray in this episode. Then we will have a very special segment where we feature a female comedian. Jeff, our resident male, will be taking hold of this to give
I'll
us
make
a little
sure
twang.
to mansplain it as much as I can.
Thank you.
When
Can
it comes
you
to
tell us
me.
about comedy?
Yes, I will.
love it.
Teach
Yeah.
us comedy.
I will teach you. I know you guys have a lot to learn. I know women aren't necessarily funny, but luckily I can help with that.
Exactly. Then we'll have some news and gossip.
We might need some alcohol in this
Yeah,
panel.
maybe. Some
yeah.
wine, because we're in Paris.
And I'm also in the live chat, guys, so I'll be in here. So if you have anything to say and want to chime in on our conversation, let us know and just put it here and I'll shout you out. But please, no spoilers. We've only watched episodes 1 and 2 so far, so don't go into anything past there for us.
Yes. Okay, episode 1. Overall thoughts, you guys.
Oh, man. I was confused at first. I almost felt like this was something that was like mid-season, it felt like to me. But I was still very excited to see the crew back together and the way that they were kind of changing it up for this season so far.
I thought this started off as strongly as the first season started off, and I was so excited because I know that sometimes shows have a tendency to maybe dip a little bit in the beginning of their second season because they get comfortable, and I feel like they just went right for it, and I was like, oh, we're not starting off where we ended. But then we got there by the end of the episode, which I thought was really cool.
I agree. Yeah, at first I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure. We wanted answers from that amazing season 1 cliffhanger, which we eventually get. But I think I totally agree with Bri, and we talked about this a bit off air. But the thing we love about this show is even when it's just doing the obligatory TV telling the story and catching you back up, it does it with so much style and humor that you can't help but just love the show. It like picks you up and sweeps you along with it. And even the quote weaker episodes are filled with so much punch and style that you just love it.
And it's funny you say weaker episode because I know that this first episode got kind of a lot of criticism. And I agree with you completely. Even though people say that, to me, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Everything about it is A+. The writing, the film work, the setting, the acting. I feel like they even got better from
Yes.
last year, if that's possible. So I love this episode. And we finally got to see more Rose and Abe in a deeper way that we didn't get to last season, really. We only got to see kind of their quirky sides, not the intimate. So let's start with Susie. She gets talked about when she was demoted at B. Altman and from Penny, hate Penny. And we see that she's in the newspaper. Do you think Susie should have warned her about this?
Maybe a little heads up when literally no one else in her life knows about this other than her ex who she just pissed off.
I mean, as a manager, I feel like you should be letting your client, like, yes, this is your job to get them press and to be speaking for them, but yeah, maybe a slight heads up. Hey, I got this article for you. Like, at least let her know.
I like your point though, Brie, because Susie has a really hard job, and that's trying to rep an incredibly talented person who's resisting their own potential. You know, it's like most managers are dealing with very entitled talent who aren't very good at what they do, whereas she's the opposite. She's this incredibly talented comic who doesn't foresee the success that she should be having because of fear. And so as a manager, that's impossible because your job is to be the biggest advocate you can for talent. And unfortunately, Midge is not at the same place that Susie is.
It's so funny to look at it from the fact that her being in a newspaper is like, oh my God, people are going to know. Whereas today, within 5 seconds, you'd be everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that she even had to ask, like, oh, there's no picture, right? Like,
right.
Oh, cool. I'm good then.
Print viral. It's different.
Yeah.
I love the way she even presented it to Midge. She's like, do you read? She's like, occasionally. But it was another time where Midge is literally the most amazing woman ever. She's handling the entire phone call room. Everyone's going to her for help. They just make it so subtle but not subtle in how marvelous she is.
Well said. How cool is that opening shot too?
Oh my God, so amazing.
Yeah.
Like you said, like the quickness of the dialogue throughout the show is one thing, but then also just the way that it's shot, which is why it won so many freaking awards,
Right.
because from top to bottom, the way it's cut together, the directing, the cinematography, like it's all so in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And then Susie gets kind of sidetracked because if we remember her Harry Drake issues, the manager of Sophie, and this is when Midge tore Sophie to shreds, exposing her fraudulence. And I guess she really pissed him off so much that he ordered 2 people to rough her up. But Susie ends up being the most charismatic human ever and getting invited to their home. What did you guys think about this whole sequence of events with Susie?
I mean, I think if someone was to be either Midge or Susie in this
Right.
position, I had to formulate my thoughts, sorry, of getting kidnapped, they're the only 2 people I feel like in the entire world that could get kidnapped and turn people onto their side.
Yeah, I was like, one thing I love about this show is no matter how, quote, serious it gets, it's always got this light touch. And, you know, it's a comedy first with dramatic elements. And I was like, I don't want to see this become The Sopranos. And so, like, of course, Amy Sherman-Palladino wrote it that the only, like, potential thug action we get becomes, like, a nice family dinner in, like, the goofiest way. It was just, like, very on point. It was very on brand for this show.
Yeah. Although I do feel bad for Susie in the fact that here we are, season 2, and still people are just referring to her as like, is she a woman?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Really, are you?
Well, that's why I like how the whole first part of the conversation between the two goons was what is it? No, I think it's a girl. No, it's a guy. No, it's definitely a guy. Like, maybe it's a girl.
What I like about that, though, is it's being played for laughs, but it's still contributing to the themes of this show, where people are always underestimating or, like, mislabeling women's potential. And it's, like, this isn't a funny way, and, like, in episode 2 we see it in a more serious way, but I think it's still, like, thematically pointed, you know?
That's a
Totally.
great point. In every, like, between Susie, Midge, and her mom and Rose,
Yes.
they're all, like, so different, facing very different things, but, like, with that same kind of underlying theme
Sexism.
in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they get left with saying that we like you. You've won us over, but we can't promise that he won't send someone else. Where do you think this leaves Susie? And should she? I feel like she should be telling someone. Like, it's not Midge caused this.
I know.
But it's also that who is she going to tell? Mm-hmm. She doesn't have a lot of people on her side. She has Midge, but she doesn't. And if she goes to the cops, you know, like, there's still the whole thing of like, are they going to take me seriously? They're probably going to laugh it off, like. And I have to stand my ground and be known as this person that can be a manager, that can hold her ground, that can't be messed with. So she kind of has to show that it's hard. You have to kind of get through that rough stuff to be able to prove to everybody that you can do this.
And that's why I think they're such a good pair too, because like she's not someone who's gonna go and like rap on something like that. She's also not someone who like she's gonna be too stubborn to ask for help. But also, I'd love to see Midge try to take down some of these thugs.
Yeah.
Just go at them, hat, purse, everything.
Yeah. They did a really good job, and they do this is my probably favorite part about the show, is the way they sequence time is so unique, but tells the story so well in this compact amount of time, but you don't know if it's a day or a few days, but it's still perfect storytelling to me.
Super true. That's a good point.
I do want anything else on Susie?
I love her.
I love her.
Emmy winner Alex Borstein.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I need more of her.
I've loved her
You could
forever.
never have enough.
True.
It is fun. Alex Borstein, like Bree said, has been doing stuff for so long. She was Miss Swan on Mad TV. Of course, she's Lois Griffin, but...
For people of my generation, she was in the Hillary Duff movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yes! Free!
But she's finally getting like her series regular in front of the camera award-winning performance, and she's been fighting in this business for like 25 years.
And she deserves this role. I mean, she levels it up, but the writing is so amazing for her.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of other things we love our AfterBuzzers, and Jeff has more.
I sure do. In case you guys didn't know, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from drama, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans. But guys, right now we need your help. If you're in the car listening to this on iTunes, or you're watching it on YouTube, you guys can really, really help out not only this show, but our entire network by rating and liking and subscribing. So if you're on YouTube and you hit that subscribe button, it not only really helps us, but it really helps you. One thing that's really cool is that YouTube will suggest curated content for you based on what you like. So I was wary of subscribing to stuff on YouTube because you never know what you're going to get. But you can turn off notifications. So literally all you're doing is getting like a better, more tailored YouTube experience. Like I get other Maisel content suggested to me now because I liked this video and subscribed to this channel. So I stuck to the advice I'm giving and subscribed, and it really helped. And if you're on iTunes, guys, it would really mean a lot if you guys would hop in that rating section and give us 5 stars. Again, we're not doing that just to be selfish, but it helps people find the show, and we're just as passionate about Mrs. Maisel as you are, and everyone needs to be seeing this show. I feel like in some ways it's still kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
You know?
It's I feel like it's a closeted film buff type thing, and it shouldn't be.
It's like the most mainstream.
It's the thing where you talk to someone about it and they're like, oh yeah, I want to watch that, but they haven't.
So if you like us and give us 5 stars on iTunes, they'll find it.
Definitely. Okay, the beef of the episode. Oh my gosh, I just love this going to Paris because Abe has completely checked out, I feel like, ever since his promotion, but it's a part of his personality as well, and they find out Rose has left to Paris. And it's kind of this coming of age moment for Rose, which I love, but also Abe needs some learning. So what did you guys think about Abe just not listening at all? He had no idea his wife was in Paris.
I think he's very lucky that he has a housekeeper, because that's the only reason that he didn't know she was gone. If they didn't have that housekeeper, he would have known 1 hour into her leaving, because he cannot take care of himself.
Zelda, much love.
What are we talking about? I'm just kidding. I kind of did feel, I felt a little implicated though. I got married 4 months ago, and like I did, yeah. We're still married, guys. I didn't realize though, like how bad dudes aren't listening sometimes. And I've gotten honestly so much better. Like this crash course of just being married, I've gotten way better. But I was like, I wish this scene didn't feel so familiar to me.
I think the thing for me, because of last season, was originally when he calls her, I'm like, oh, it's nothing that serious. And they're playing it up like it's nothing that serious because he's making such a big deal of it. And the fact that it ended up being that she's in Paris and she's gone forever potentially, and he just thinks that she's on vacation for like a day or 2.
Getting dishes shipped to her from Zelda.
Getting everything packed up. She has an apartment. She's gone.
There's literally a sheet on the wall that says Rose's Paris address.
The fact that Midge even didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also is sad. It's sad that she was able to leave and no one noticed.
Exactly. And that's what her midlife crisis was really about. And she opens up and says that she was unhappy. She feels like her life has no purpose and no one wanted her or cared about her. And it brought up a really interesting point about women in general and their place in homes. But at that time, because when your kids are gone and your husband's working, what did you get left to do? You weren't really allowed to further your education.
But I think that's still true today. Like, you see so many women that have kids and are housewives, which is a totally noble thing to do if that's what your passion is and what you want to do with your life. But then their kids grow up, they don't need to be moms anymore, and then they're like, what do I do now with my life? My whole purpose of life is kind of gone, and that's when they're trying to figure it out again in their 40s or 50s, you know?
Yeah, I think getting to see her go through that at the same time of seeing what Abe is doing is such a sign of great writing for this show that in episode 1 right away, we already knew these people from last season so well. We had such a vivid picture of them, from like Abe just kind of going in his office and like in his study and just like playing the piano when there was an argument going on, and Rose just kind of trying to play that perfect mom, but also you could tell she was always kind of somewhere else at the same time. So to dive into season 2 and immediately see him go to the next level of not listening and not realizing his wife moved to France, and her finally going and like pursuing something that she's wanted to and living an artist's life and learning more about her, I was thrilled to see this in episode 1.
And the comedy of it was that it was serious that she was going there, but she was living her best life. Like, Rose was killing it, and in 3 days she had acted like she'd been living there for months. Like, knew the entire layout, and then changed her personality. Like, she wasn't so uptight. She was really living life.
I mean, let's not be too kind with that she was living her best life. Like, she was living her best life in some ways, but we also find out how insufficient she is at doing other things like cooking.
Right.
Because they've had a housekeeper. Like, let's not forget the fact that they are very privileged people in New York, so they've had a very nice life, and to all of a sudden be in this tiny apartment and try to be... She was happy, but everyone else was like, oh, wow, you can't cook. This is dirty. You know, she doesn't necessarily know how to even take care of herself, but it's kind of cool that she went there and is now trying to learn that stuff.
Yeah. Was she, so that, I thought that was funny too, Steph, how she acts like this native Parisian. Did we learn that she had any history with Paris, or?
She went to school there, but we just found that out, I think, this episode. I didn't remember that from season 1.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything before that.
Well, that's what I really appreciated was, if any character was a little underserved in season 1, it was probably Rose. And Marin Hinkle's so good. And I think Amy Sherman-Palladino recognized that and was like, what an interesting potential for us to explore. So I love that these first 2 episodes, the B story was really dedicated to her. And what amazing performance chops we get from Marin Hinkle. I thought she was really, really good in these 2.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And their entire, they talk about going to dinner together, and this is when they also meet Simone, her dog, which the Rose we knew from season 1 would have never had a dog, I think. And what struck me in this scene was the conversation between her and Midge after dinner, when Midge was saying, you made a commitment, like, you have to make this work. And she's like, that's funny coming from you.
Yeah.
Which, us knowing the backstory of the fact that, you know, her and Joel at that time, from what we're aware of, are trying to work it out, but that he saw her at the comedy club because that's where we left off. Like, us knowing that backstory, but her mom not, we're like angry with her mom. But then, in her mom's point of view, it's he came back and she said no to him, and that's it. So I get it. It's just frustrating when you know stuff that the other characters don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a great way to kind of bring that back on the table, too, for us, like, as the viewers, just because the way that she brought it up, you could just see it trigger something. And again, like, I mean, we're going to say Rachel Brosnahan's amazing, like, 5 million times this season, but rightfully so. And her reaction to it, of you could just see something click in her of, like, wow, like, I haven't really thought about that in a while. Like, she was probably trying to push it away. And then to have that come back to the surface, to bring that storyline back in with Joel, I thought was really good.
But it's also, I feel like, a conversation about this ingested misogyny where they feel like they owe everyone these things, and they've never taken a step back. Rose is now to be like, I need to be myself. I need to figure out myself. So I think this is a setup for both of them this season, really taking charge of their own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous that you have to be committed to you should be committed if you make the promise, but you don't need to be living vicariously through them and only them. So I'm excited for that.
And it's such a generational thing to think about, too, like us as women now, when we think of things, Jeff, you included, of course, you know, us 4 as women living today, 2018. When we look back and think like, oh, like what our moms went through, and kind of going each step back, and like, because this whole time we're looking at Midge and saying like, oh yeah, what was it like to be a stand-up in the 50s as a woman? But then take it one step further, oh yeah, what was it like to be a woman who wanted to pursue something in the arts
in like the 20s,
in the 20s, 30s. So like unheard of.
Right. Such a good point.
And this leads, anything else on Abe and Rose?
The only thing I wanted to bring up, and it's not something we need to, I just wanted to throw in the fact that Abe only brought Midge along on the trip because he assumed she spoke French when she didn't. I'm just wondering why you had that assumption.
That's so funny.
Is it just that he assumes because his wife spoke French that his daughter must as well, I guess?
And like not even a question. Like
No,
you
all
speak
women,
French,
all women
French,
do, right?
They all
No,
speak.
It's just
yeah.
a thing. You learn it in like cooking school or whatever.
Yes.
In sandwich making school.
Je suis parlé en français.
Brie does parle, which is pretty cool.
Bree, speak to us.
I mean, I don't speak a lot of it. Je suis parlé en français.
It still sounds good.
With a very terrible accent.
Abe needs to learn some of that. Abe needs to learn a lot. I really want him to.
He does.
I really want him to actually listen to Rose. You guys at home need to listen to your women or men or whoever you're with. Midge, and this leads Midge to my favorite scene of the episode. She goes to a drag queen bar. I believe it's a drag queen bar.
Yeah.
And it is such a great time to bring up drag culture in America and opposed to in France and Europe, and also marriage. Did you guys like this scene?
Yeah.
Loved it.
And
Loved
the
it.
difference between French marriage and America?
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved every bit of it. I love the fact that she didn't recognize it until after, and she's like, oh, wow. Well, you look amazing. And then even parlaying, though, to her going through all these struggles, she's like, my husband, he cheated on me. And just everyone's like, yeah. It kind of threw her off because she's so used to, like, I think, through her comedy being a little bit of the victim, and to have people be like, you're not, this isn't special to you, I think helped her realize some stuff and also helped her grow. I think it's going to make her stronger as a comic as well.
Yeah, this was all so good. What a smart way for us to get Midge on stage. Because every episode, if you really take a step back, there's sort of a procedural element where she's going to give us a great stand-up monologue each episode. Not every episode, but it's the thing we're sort of waiting for. And I love that they set it in a drag bar like this because it complicated the filter of what she was saying, just like Brie said. Because you've got to figure out a way. You can't just have Rachel Brosnahan do a monologue each episode. You've got to, in some ways, give us some kind of twist on the scenario. And even the way it was directed and played out, how we had the English and the French overlapping. And again, it's not just good TV, it's great TV. Like, it elevates things we've seen in a way that just makes this show... It's not surprising it's winning every Emmy because you just don't see scenes like this in other television shows.
I also love that the scene ended not on a comedic high note like most of her stuff tends to, or as of late tended to. And it ended with her kind of being depressed, and it paralleled her mom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like that it just they challenged her so much in this by like putting her in this situation. As soon as she walks in, I was like, oh, dope. She's gonna do comedy here. I don't know how
Yeah.
because they don't speak English, but I'm super excited to see how. And the fact that they she's impressive enough, especially at the end when she is just on fire, and then hearing the French woman underneath it is incredible. And it goes to show too, I thought this scene was really cool because comedy is so universal. I didn't know what the French woman was saying, even though like we had heard the English version before it, but her timing, her pacing, her inflection, everything that she did, you can tell where the joke was, where the punchline was. And I was just like, that's so cool.
It's kind of moving. Like, I found myself like a little emotionally, obviously it was funny, but to see like the way, like the choreography that needed to happen with that language, and props to that actress.
Yes.
They found this bilingual actress who was able to play jokes in English and in French. I was just weirdly like moved by it. It was really great.
I also love that they did the flashbacks and kind of that's how they caught us up. They were like, we're not going to just give it to you. We're going to give it to you through the stand-up, but we're going to flash back, and as she's telling it, you're going to see then what happened after the club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really clever.
The club, after the club scene, this was the first time I was really kind of frustrated with Midge because it's the first time we see Joel and Midge post season 1, and we know that Joel saw her, but she's kind of just coming to terms with it, and she's kind of spoke out her feelings during the comedy club, and she's on the phone basically begging for him back. So I first want to ask you guys, how did Midge make you feel in that situation? And Joel, this was the first time I saw a lot of growth and honesty from him.
I mean, I think I don't fault her for what she's doing because it's very easy to look at it like he's treated you poorly, he's done all this, you should be done with him. But it's a very different thing to be in that situation. I think anyone that's been in any kind of relationship where they've been in love, it is hard. It's hard to let go of that, and you don't want to. So I'm not trying to judge her for that at all, but And I'm glad that after her talk with her mom, that's kind of what spurred her. And I think it's a conversation that they both needed to have regardless. So I'm glad it led to that. But I think I told Steph and Jeff, but I've never been more proud and frustrated with a character in my life than I was with Joel at this moment, because I'm so proud that he's grown to realize it's about him and not about her, but that he still won't be with her because of it. Because I think literally my notes say, get over yourself, idiot. You literally will not do any better.
No way.
Yeah, it's like before he was a douchebag, but now at least he's a self-aware douchebag, which is great. It's a big step for Joel. And I actually can kind of sympathize with his viewpoint. He's saying, like, you're such a talented comic, I cannot stand in the way. Like, it would be a disservice to your art and your creativity and to the world if I got in your way, but I'm too insecure to watch someone be better at something that I love. And I actually kind of understand this. I mean, as a creative, we're all aspiring. And let's say your thing was that you were this amazing musician and you fell in love with someone who, and especially during this time, it's interesting because now it's easier, I think. I'm married to like a very strong woman who's probably going to be our breadwinner because she's like flying up in late night. And now it's easier as a guy. But like in the 50s, you're also bearing the weight of society's judgment on that. And I understand from the guy perspective where Joel's coming from here. You know?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And if you're insecure and with society's weight on you, I can't imagine.
Yeah, my one note on this was he's being a big man, but also like a small man.
Yeah.
I think the frustrating part, to cut you off.
No, that was really it. That was really it.
It's well said. It's
He
like
is big but small.
very
I'm done.
succinct. Yeah.
Mic drop.
That's the show.
Just
Thank
don't
you.
actually drop the mic. No, it's just that I think the frustration with watching it as a woman is like thinking of how many years women have maybe been as talented and had to take the back seat, and then not being able to see a guy be able to do that
Right.
was frustrating to watch. Like she was always talented at this, but was always taking the back seat so that you could do it, and the fact that you can't do that for her was frustrating.
Yeah.
Agreed. Any final thoughts on the episode?
Do we see the beginning of the couples dancing on the bridge in this episode? Sorry if that's episode 2. Because that's what spurns Midge to call.
That's this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just love all of those sequences are so, again, like choreographing all of this. It's not just it's the way this show's directed. It's theatrical. It's
Cinematography.
It's just so, this is like the definition of prestige TV.
100%. When I watch it, I feel like such a nerd. I don't stop smiling.
Yeah.
It's my favorite show ever, I think, other than like Orphan Black, which is saying a lot because I'm obsessed with Orphan Black. Totally different genre. This is like set me on fire.
It's equally good performance though at the center.
Yeah, it is true. Those
Yeah.
female leads are insane. Like
Yeah.
I've not seen people take on a series role with that much. Like you are that character.
Yeah.
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 I do just want to comment out to our in our chat. We have Vanessa Monterio. I'm sorry, I've butchered your last name. But she's glad she caught us live today, and she's very excited for our after show. So thank you so much for watching, Vanessa.
And Vanessa, if you have questions or thoughts, send them our way.
Yes, and you guys, we will be covering episode 2 right after this, so great news for everyone. Without further ado, Jeff, can you hit us off with your mansplaining, the special segment?
So there's a tradition called stand-up comedy where people will get on stage and they'll make little jokes and do little bits. We're going to feature a female stand-up every week, and we have Ellen this week.
Yes.
Most of you guys know Ellen as the queen of daytime television, but she was a stand-up for a very, very long time, and she starred in a sitcom on, I think, NBC, where she very famously came out on the show.
Are you talking about Ellen?
Yeah, I'm talking about Ellen.
Her show
The
called
first
Ellen?
show called Ellen, where it was a scripted sitcom, but it's hard to deny Ellen's cultural foothold in our country. I mean, to me, like Joan Rivers almost passed the torch to Ellen in terms of just iconic and hilarious female. This is from 1992. This is a special called I can't remember. Stand Up, Anthony. Is the title there in the One Night Stand? Thank you. Let's take a look.
Amazing.
Good to be back in Miami. This is my favorite place in the land. And, well, it is. I mean, of course, I say that everywhere I go, but I mean it here. Great place. Man, everybody's so friendly, and I'm just hanging out at the beach today, and people coming up to me. This guy came up and said, hey, you know, you're on my towel. You know, it's just really great. So thanks for gathering here. In case you're not aware, I'm a comedian, and this is an HBO special. And it's a weird job to be a comedian, I think, because, you know, you get a lot of people asking questions, and, you know, I guess the most commonly asked question I get, number one, would be, number one, what is your favorite land mammal? Then, after that, number two, would be why I'm a comedian, how that happened. Was my family funny? Was my childhood weird? And I think I'm a comedian because of my dad. My dad was always playing practical jokes on me all the time. And I remember one time so vividly, I was 7 years old. I was in the backyard playing. It was a real hot, sunny day, and I ran into the kitchen to pour a glass of lemonade because I used to just love lemonade. I still drink it. I don't drink it as much as I did when I was a little girl. I drink it all day long. Sometimes I'd drink too much. I'd get a little tummy ache. I'd be laying in bed at night going, Mom, I got a tummy ache. Anyway,
It's just so weird. It's like very offbeat.
Yeah.
You know?
And I went to the kitchen to get some lemonade. And in the kitchen was my dad, my mom, all my brothers and sisters just standing there staring at me, about to start laughing. I was like, what? I was 7. I didn't know. And my dad said, Ellen, honey, you were adopted and we've never liked you, so...
There you go. That's the source of Ellen DeGeneres' comedy.
Ellen DeGeneres is like one of those comedians that not many people can just be quirky and weird like she is and have it hit in a funny way. It's just kind of like, okay, you're being weird. But she does, yeah, like that whole story about the lemonade, just be like, I just drank some lemonade, I had a tummy ache. It's like, why is that funny? In other people's hands, it wouldn't be, but she makes it funny.
For sure.
She's the queen of observational humor and timing.
Yeah.
Because it's that weird timing. She takes pauses at very specific times, and then all of a sudden she hits you with something that you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
And she waits too, doesn't she? She really lets the jokes in.
Yeah.
I'm not a stand-up, but I'm sure that's the scariest part of stand-up is the silence.
It's almost like you're uncomfortable, so you laugh, but then you realize why you're laughing.
Yeah, I think Ellen is very good at that, and that's what a lot of observational, which actually Midge is observational. She goes through the same thing, and so yeah, it's you kind of wait for a second, and then you take it in, and then you realize 100 times that you've done that thing, or thought that thing, or said that thing, and then like the laughter kicks in. But yeah, that silence, that's why she's so good. A lot of comics don't like letting things breathe, and silence is like should be a comedian's best friend, but it's scary sometimes, so it's not. But she just dives in, and she'll make you wait for it.
She's like that person that will just stare at you until you laugh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, I'm not going to say another joke until you laugh at me.
So true.
And good news, you guys, she has returned to her stand-up career, and she released her Netflix debut. It's called Relatable. So I still have to see. I'm so excited because she hasn't done stand-up in a long time, like just her. We're still having a stare-off, you guys.
Say for our podcast listeners, Bree and Amy are about to make out or
If
something.
you guys can't hear the silence, let me describe it. It was horrible.
My eyes are watering.
It was horrible.
They're either laughing or crying.
Oh, God.
But yes, Ellen's new special. I have not seen it, but I've heard it's great.
I'm so excited to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm also excited for Bree's news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Just waiting for it. I was like, I know it's coming. Sorry, guys. So on the good news, which I feel like there's only good news with this show, and I'm still dabbing tears from my eyes.
Silence got so
silence.
real, you guys.
Me and Amy just have an unspoken thing, okay? I don't know how to tell you
It's
it.
beautiful.
But Marvelous Miss Maisel has been picked up for a season 3 already.
Yes!
So we will. This is not the end after this season. Not that any of us, I think, thought it would be.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Amazon canceled it? We're done with the show.
Oh, God.
And it's rumored that it most likely will be winter of next year, 2019, that we will get the next season, which makes most sense because that's 1 year we got this season, so every year we should get. It's our little like Christmas Hanukkah gift from Amazon.
Love it.
And then I believe we also have a video right, that you queued up, Jeff?
Yeah, so if you guys watched SNL on Saturday, which quick synergy, Amy and Steph are on our SNL After Show panel, and they're great. I listen to that show as not as a producer but a fan. I love your guys' SNL After Show. But there was a Amy Sherman-Palladino and Rachel Brosnahan shout out. There was a sketch kind of finding a replacement Oscar host following the Kevin Hart debacle. So basically one of those runners where it's a montage of impressions, and we have Cecily doing Rachel Brosnahan and 80 doing Amy Sherman-Palladino. So let's take a look.
Rachel Brosnahan from the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, a host. Well, obviously, if I was hosting, I would probably do a comedy bit, and of course, I would want the help of my fearless creator, Amy Sherman-Palladino. Hello. Seal in my hat will write it all.
So that was Cecily and 80. And actually, Rachel Brosnahan responded on Seth Meyers' Late Night Show, and that's just a short little clip. So we'll watch that quickly before we make our way out of here.
Also, Ellen was a part of that Oscars bit, too. Kate McKinnon played her.
Perfect. All right, so let's see how Rachel responded to this on Seth's Late Night Show.
A great year for you since the last time you were here. You won the Emmy, you won the Golden Globe, but on Saturday, you had one of the biggest things happen. You were impersonated on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And Cecily Strong did you, and here is A.D. Bryan as Amy Sherman-Palladino, and you tweeted about it. You seemed were you very excited?
I still feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm still making that face. Just
and so you did not see it live, correct? Someone else?
no,
Okay.
I was abroad, and so I was 6 hours ahead, and everyone I have ever met had sent me a text message by the time I woke up the next morning.
And then do you go into it with nerves? Because obviously people get impersonated on it. This was done with love. Sometimes they're not. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other people were tweeting about SNL this week, and they were less happy.
They were not so thrilled
Yeah.
about that, yeah. No, I mean, even if it had been terrible, I feel like I still would have been thrilled.
That's great. That is the right way to go into it. One of the coolest things about season 2 is it
I love
opened in
it.
I
Paris,
love
and
her.
This is
Yeah.
Soundstage Paris. You guys actually.
She's
Is
so
anyone
good.
else like those weird to anyone else to hear her not in the Midge voice?
Yes.
And not
Yeah.
in the Midge look.
That's why she was even just
I was like,
watching
oh
her.
wow,
Like,
her
she's
voice is deep.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, great
What a
clips.
It's so nice that like our current like rising star of comedy is such a classy, broad.
Yes.
She's great. Love Rachel
She's so
Brosnahan.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, like Jeff was saying before this, there's no bad press on any of the cast.
They're all just like, this amazingly talented thespian won another award. It's like, okay, good for them.
Well, that about wraps up episode 1. But don't go away, you guys, because right now we are in a few minutes. We're gonna air our review of episode 2, season 2.
The whole season.
Yes.
The whole season.
I've only watched the first 2, but I'll just cover the whole
We'll just guess.
Right now.
Midge got on stage.
Oh man.
Joel was an idiot.
was
Am I
funny.
getting the gist?
But if you can't watch episode 2 with us right now, where can we find you guys?
You can find me on internet at Amy Maestri.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bri, BRI_Phipps, PHIPPS.
You guys can find me in Cleveland eating breakfast casserole. Also on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw. Thank you guys for watching. We're so excited to talk about the rest of the season with you guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.